up? What up? What up? Good morning, Monday morning. Excited for episode 5. We're already 5 episodes in, if I'm not mistaken.
It's crazy.
Rocket. Yeah, it's a good thing. So we're going to start this show with our guests going first. We have 3 guests back to back to back. We have 2 associate head coaches, and 1 player, our first player guest. So excited about that and look forward to having you guys. I'm going to jump out of the studio. We'll also go coast to coast and conference to conference like we always do. Lots of great stuff to talk about. I'll let Kevin say any opening words if he has them, and then we'll bring in our first guest.
No, I mean, my only thing before we get to Coach Tate is obviously we're thinking of Keontae Johnson. Hope he's doing well. Hope he's hanging in there. I know Jeff Goodman said this morning with Rob Dawson, it sounds like he's moving in somewhat of a positive direction. But we are just hoping for the best for him. Obviously, a very scary situation, and anytime that you're talking about a player being hospitalized, it's beyond anything you could ever think of. So we're praying for him and hoping he gets back to full health very, very soon.
Yeah, absolutely, great player too. Let's have a quick moment of silence for him, and then we'll get started. All right. So, again, prayers for him and his family, his full recovery. We have St. Louis Billikens. They've been balling out. We have a special guest. They had some games canceled this weekend, but we have a special guest we want to bring in the studio right away and get straight to it. So I'm going to leave and let Kevin take the reins. But we have Corey Tate, who is a former junior college head coach, super grassroots connected. Now is the associate head coach over at St. Louis, doing a great job for Travis Ford. So we're going to bring him straight in the studio and get straight to it.
Yeah, Coach Tate, we appreciate you hopping on. I guess my first question, you're off to a 4-0 start. You look like an NCAA tournament caliber team when I'm watching. Just how much do you think the experience of your guys has helped navigating this year? I've seen looking throughout the country, it seems like everyone who's experienced is playing at a higher level. But, when I watch you guys, the connectedness really stands out. And I just wanted to ask you what you attribute that to beyond just having a bunch of older guys.
Kevin, thanks for having me, you guys. But what I contribute is I think it's just Coach Ford, Travis Ford, all the work he put into these guys, once they were younger, freshmen and sophomores. Now that they're seniors, a lot of them, 3 of them are seniors. I think it's paying off. And the guys that we have, the younger guys, I think our older guys, was great leaders and still great leaders. Jordan Goodwin, Hassan French, and Javante, they show these younger guys, the way to go. And, credit to the young guys, they just picking up on it.
And it seems like the offense has really taken it up a notch this season. There was a lot of questions about the shooting last season, but you guys are really torching the nets from deep. Obviously, getting some guys healthy has helped. But why do you think your team has improved so much in that realm so far through 4 games?
I just think off season was really huge. Even though we couldn't get in the gym together, I think everybody was working on, just shooting. And just, went back to the basics and just worked on shooting and playing with, for each other. And it don't hurt when you get a guy like Gibson back. So Gibson is back. He spreads the floor for a lot of people, and it makes it easier for other people to make jump shots.
Yeah, he's made 12 threes in 4 games. I think any coach in the country would sign up for. I've seen you guys are on Twitter literally asking, anyone want to play us this week? We're looking for a game. Walk me through the uncertainty of what this year has been for you guys and scheduling in general. I
mean, that tweet was totally in a humble way, right? Nothing cocky, nothing. It was just that, it's an unsettled season. So we had a game that was canceled, and we wanted just to continue to play. As anybody, they want to get as many games in as they can, because you never know when it might hit you or when you might have to be in the bubble, So for the most part, we we tweeted that in a humble way. Like we just wanted to play. If anybody needed to play, needed a game, we were just willing to play. Nothing in, no malice by saying, cocky way or nothing, at all.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys already had dealt with, scheduling changed a little bit. I think you were headed to Lincoln to play in that event, and then wound up coming home and playing a couple games. And in that little home event, you guys beat LSU, which is obviously a big time win. What did that game early in the season mean for your team's confidence? Obviously, it means something from an NCAA tournament standpoint, and you obviously deal with that in March. But what did it mean just from a confidence standpoint to beat a high major team that's consistently been competing at the highest level in the SEC? Competing for a championship the last couple of seasons.
I mean, no doubt, Will Wade and LSU, they're going to be great this year. I mean, they're going to do a lot of special things in SEC. But, it meant a lot of things for us here at SLU. Recognition for one. Two, we was able to have pretty much, the guys haven't played since March of last year. So it was pretty much a good time for our guys to get out there and try to, work at unfinished business. And, the guys was on a high level, in March. So they just want to continue to stay together and stay on that level.
And the A-10 is such a good league, right? I mean, you talk about, you guys beating LSU, Richmond beats Kentucky, VCU beats Memphis, Dayton beats Mississippi State, Rhode Island beats Seton Hall. You just go through, the league has proven time and time again that it can compete with anyone. When you look at this conference, what makes that such a grind day in, day out once you get into league play?
Well, first it starts with all the head coaches. I think all the head coaches in the A-10, they always have their teams prepared, to play. Any team you play every night in, night out, I think you're going to have, your team is going to be prepared to compete. And then second off, the players. We have players on every team that can play. Some of them can play with the Blue Bloods, as you've seen. You see, like Rhode Island lost two kids, to UConn, one to Kentucky, things like that. We have players that can play on that next level, so to speak. And, that's what makes this league really special.
100%. And Coach Burton mentioned this in his intro for you, but obviously you're very, very connected in the grassroots world. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about recruiting this year and how different it has been not being able to go out, not being able to go to, whether it's Peach Jam or any of the other big events.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think has been the biggest change for you beyond just like I have to call people instead of meet them in person? What has changed in terms of your day-to-day and how you recruit?
Well, just visual. What I mean by that, it's not like seeing a person play in person. If you can see a kid, you might see it on film, but then once you get a chance to see it in person, you never realize how fast they are or how fast they get that shot off. Just little things, that everybody can just, pick up on when you see a kid in person. So it's just little things like that. But other than that, man, we are adjusting. I mean, it comes with it. You just got to adjust with it.
All right. I think I just got one more for you. It's been a crazy, crazy year. What do you think you have learned about yourself as a coach, your program? I got two for you, so I'll go to this one first.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself and about your program in the last 9 months? As you guys have been through just so many crazy things that I don't think any coach ever thought they would have to prepare for.
Well, I mean, not that I learned this about myself, but this is just how I approach it anyway. Is with patience and flexibility. You gotta have patience, and you gotta be willing to adjust. And if you're willing to adjust and understand adjustments, I mean, this just comes with it. This comes with the territory of being a coach. It's going to be a lot of audibles this year. So, I mean, I'm okay with it. It just got to be, you got to look ahead and don't expect anything. Just be willing, for whatever comes your way.
And, being you were a JUCO coach and you've moved your way up. Talk about your relationship with Coach Ford, how you became up to an associate head coach, what your responsibilities look like on a day-to-day basis, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, it's all blessings. It's just timing. Timing is everything. I was at the University of Missouri. Well, let me go back first. I was at Mental Area College for 15 years, and then I had the opportunity to, take a leap to University of Missouri, which I was there for 1 year. And Coach Ford got the job here back in St. Louis. I'm from St. Louis, so Coach, reached out and just made sense, that I could come back home and basically run around in my backyard, so that's how I started with Coach Ford. And with that being said, it just worked out. Like we all like Coach Ford is a guy that, he's a people's person, and he just give you opportunity to work yourself to the top. So little things that I did, I just wanted to make sure everything Coach was doing, I was there. And Coach allowed me to be in every meetings, work with him on offense and defense, recruiting. So I just threw myself in every part of basketball, and everywhere Coach Ford went, I pretty much went. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, people tell you, since I've been here, he go recruiting somewhere, I just want to go with him, even if I'm not the lead recruiter, because I just want to know, how his sell pitch, when he's recruiting a kid, when he's talking to other coaches. I just want to know and do everything he does that I can do. So when I get the opportunity, I'll be ready.
All right, I'll leave you with this one. You've been doing this thing for a while. You've been in so many different environments in the sport. Leave me with one funny or memorable story from your time in coaching that the audience might have a chuckle at.
A funny story. Wow. Let me see. Can we cuss? No, I keep it PG.
That's everyone's answer. Everyone's answer whenever we ask this is like, I don't know if I could say this on the air.
No. I'll give you. See, the great stories comes with the JUCO. I got a great JUCO, and Bill remember. Well, he remember we used to play in Beaumont, Texas every Christmas, right? And Beaumont closes down at probably about 9 o'clock around that time. So it's like they had one spot, and it was a wing spot. I can't remember the wing spot, but we played late, and I told all the guys, we're gonna order the food, get the wings, get whatever. Well, I got on a bus last, and I get on the bus, and all the wings, everybody got their wings. I don't have my wings. And if you know me, I'm a big guy. So after we done played, we went through everything. All I wanted to do was sit on the bus, eat my wings, and have a good night. I wasn't able to do that. So I said, wait a minute. I know, everybody else have wings. I know I probably would have some wings, right? So okay, we go start looking around Beaumont, Texas. There's nothing in Beaumont, Texas that's open. Nothing. No, the gas station, nothing. So about 11 o'clock at night, I hear a knock on my hotel door. I get up. I'm like, all right. Well, I look down, and it's a box of empty bones. It's a box of empty bones. So I know one of my players ate all the chicken wings. So I said, that's okay. That's fine. I laughed. So we got to practice. We played the next day. So I said, good win, guys. I said, we're going to have pizza. And they was like, oh, yeah, we're going to have pizza. So I told my assistants, I said, make sure you get them one pizza. For the whole team, one pizza. I know I shouldn't say this, but they had one pizza and a gallon of water. And I said, I'm required to make sure you guys have something to eat. I'm not required to make sure you guys are full. So you guys got one pizza, and we'll figure it out after that. you guys got to figure out how to share. And so that team, now remember, everything closed at 9 o'clock in Beaumont, Texas. So maybe I was cruel, but they had one pizza and 1 gallon of water. But they figured it out after that.
All right, Coach. This was awesome. Thanks so much for hopping on. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll be watching.
Man, thanks for having me. Good luck with you guys.
Have a good one.
All right.
All right. That was Coach Corey Tate, the associate head coach at St. Louis. We'll get BB back in here shortly. We got another special guest coming up that I'll let him introduce once he gets on in here. But we appreciate Coach Tate hopping on. We had a couple more guests coming up later on today, and we've got obviously going coast to coast. So stick with us. B, what we got next? Give us the intro.
Yeah. I love part of that story. So I would say those guys probably never mess with Coach's wings again.
I would think not.
I think they'd never mess with the wings again. I love it. Coach Tate, associate head coach at St. Louis. They're off to a hot start. Great to have him on this morning and him take the time. So we'll take a quick break, and then we have another special guest.
Welcome to All Access Coaches Corner, where our mission is to serve coaches, share their stories, and spotlight their programs with our host, Brian Burton. A longtime successful college basketball coach, former championship collegiate point guard, husband, and father, Brian is now the Vice President of Rising Coaches Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Alliance for men's basketball, an empowerment coach and founder of B3 Legacy Sports and the All Access Network. Sports broadcaster and host for All Access Coaches Corner and All Access Sports Media, Coach Burton is now using his successes, experiences, and connections to be a point guard in the sports industry at all levels, with a mission to help others to further their success. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join us in the All Access Coaches Corner.
All right, we are back and looking forward to our next guest. We have our first player guest, so excited to get the player's perspective. This young man, I had a privilege to coach and recruit for one season when I was at UTEP. He set out for that season. He played last year, or was eligible to play, I should say. And then now he is grad transferred to Coppin State and is one of the hottest mid-major players in the country right now. So we will welcome him in, Mr. Anthony Tark from Coppin State.
How's
what up,
going?
Tark? How you doing, man?
Going on?
Good to have you on, my man. Good to have you on. Been too long, man. How's the weather that way?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a rainy day right now, cloudy. You know, I got this little hat on so I stay warm. So yeah.
Good, man. Well, we won't keep you long, but we will have some fun with this. So starting out, okay, so you have had a monster start to your season. Of course, there's been ups and downs. There's been some games you guys have played at an extremely high level. There's been some games you guys are still kind of working out the kinks like everyone else. But in particular, your first game against Duke, you came out and had just a kind of make a name for yourself type of game. And then you played against another good mid-major that you had a almost triple-double performance, in some ways almost quadruple-double performance. So we'll talk about that, but just starting out. So you were at NJIT. You started your career. You were a first-team all-conference player 2 years in a row. So you had a chance to really perform at a high level. You entered the transfer market. You end up signing with us at UTEP. And then you kind of go through a tough stretch. I think it goes without saying, you had some challenges there. You didn't play. I had some moments you didn't play, had some games you didn't play, probably had some road trips you almost didn't go on or didn't want to go on because it's like, what's the point? But on the flip side, we know that coach's culture there, and the culture there is about work. It's about investment. It's about discipline. It's about toughness. So there's some things you definitely got from it. And the team that you played with last year was so talented. So talk just a little bit about what you gained from that experience that's now helping you play at such a high level with what you're doing at Coppin State.
Yeah, so I guess to backtrack to the NJIT situation, I was allowed to come in and really just be myself from the jump. Coach Kennedy and Coach Rapp and those guys, they gave me a confidence, but I didn't really understand the college game and just the work that needed to be put in to be consistently great. So going to UTEP, I was thinking that as I took on that, new challenge, that I would be able to take the work that, and the blue collar mentality that we had there with my talent and have a beautiful product and a beautiful season. Unfortunately, it didn't go that way, but, I was able, again, moving on to Coppin, I was able to take on how hard you had to work. And because of the talent level, you really couldn't have an off day. I mean, you really had to, continue to grind, and that talent level made me push to, a greater limit in myself. And also just having you there during my redshirt year, I mean, pushing me, we might have a game where we watch, but we're working out the day of the game, we're working out after in the mornings and all that stuff, and just trying to fine tune my shot and all these little things and little nuances that have helped me, and prepared me for the opportunity I have now at Coppin. So.
Yeah, I just love to see it, man. I'm excited for you, and I know Kevin's going to talk specifically about the Duke game and ask about that. But just knowing how hard it is in college basketball, we talk about it on here, just to win one game.
Yeah.
So from a player standpoint, how hard it is to sit out a year and not be able to play, and then the year you go to play, it doesn't go quite the way you plan. You still don't get to play, but just how much work you put in behind the scenes, everything you're getting, you deserve, man. So I'll jump back in, but I'll let Kevin take over for a little bit.
I appreciate it. Yep.
Yeah, and I think it starts your first game with a new program. It doesn't seem like there's much bigger challenge than going on the road, going to Cameron, and going into that place. Obviously, not the environment it normally is, but still, I've been in there when it was empty, and it still felt like the walls were caving in on you. It's just tight. Yeah. So walk me through. You're walking to the gym. You're playing Duke, and you go and you ball out, right? You're 22, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 steals. Like how much you guys hang in that game for 4 quarters or two halves? I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
You guys hang in there for the whole way. Like, walk me through the confidence that gave you, just playing that game the way you did.
Man, it was, you don't ever know how you're going to come out in your first game. Usually like in the seasons prior, you've had like a home game, maybe it was a Division III school, Division II school that you play, kind of get your feet wet. And especially being in a new system, a new environment with new teammates. I think we have like 9 new guys, having to go up against the top 10 team in the country. It's, it can go, one or two ways. And we weren't expected to be in that game. And people probably, didn't know what to expect from me, also coming off the season I just had. So just for me, I mean, my coach and my staff, like, they give me all the confidence in the world to go out there and use all the things that I've worked on this whole, throughout this pandemic and throughout my time even at UTEP. And I was just able to go out there and be comfortable and be myself. Some of the shots that may look like bad shots are shots that I work on every single day. Like, so it wasn't a surprise that I was able to, do those things. I was just blessed to have the opportunity to do it. So I wanted to win, though. I wanted to win.
And you guys got to win on Thursday against UNC Greensboro, one of the best mid-major programs in the country. They have one of the best defenders in the country, Isaiah Miller, and you guys knocked them off. And this was the game that I think really introduced you to people nationally. I know a lot of people were talking after you put up 33, 10, 8, 4 blocks, 4 steals. Like, what did that win mean to you guys coming off a start where you started 0-4? You're playing a team that, probably significantly favored to win. What did that win mean to you guys, to what you guys are building, what you guys are heading into with conference play?
Yeah, we take on these challenges in the non-conference just to give ourselves, just to build this chemistry overall. With our team right now, we're just trying to get better throughout each and every game. We're learning a lot of our guys are learning a whole new defensive scheme. And even just offensive fluidity, just trying to figure each other out. UNCG, really good team, really hard-nosed team, tough team. I've been in those games before, when you're kind of picked to be the underdog and you find a way. And it's just about doing everything you can to, try to get a win. And again, the numbers, they're great, but it's just for me, I want to win, and whatever it takes to get that win is what I'll do. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna let BB jump in if he has anything.
Yeah, I think Kevin, you were going to ask. We talked about this off air. I think Kevin was just going to ask about recruiting and kind of you ended up playing with your brother. I'll let him kind of lead into that, but kind of how that whole thing came about.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, obviously, what was your recruitment like when you were leaving UTEP? How much did the relationship where your brother was also coming to Coppin? How much did that help in just choosing there? You just walk me through that whole process, especially in a year where you couldn't go out and visit places.
Yeah, it was, statistical wise, it wasn't, again, the best year for me, but I guess, my recruitment was still very good coming out of UTEP. There were still a lot of schools that were, very interested in me. I had a dream, I had a plan that I wanted to play with my brother, and also go to a place where I know he'd be able to get minutes coming in as a freshman. And, Coppin State, they recruited him. They offered him. He committed there before I even committed there. But him doing that and punching the clock in there, it was a big determining factor for me to step in and also play with him. It's been a dream. I've been playing with him since we started playing, since I was 13 years old and he was 10. So he's probably one of my favorite players to play with. And again, we haven't played together in a minute, so we're gonna get our flow going, and throughout this season. But I'm just excited, man. Excited.
Yeah, one of the games. Matter of fact, I think it was the UNCG win where you guys combined for over 50 points together, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, awesome story. Coach Dixon had some really powerful words to say about you. He just said, we're very fortunate to have a player and person of Anthony Tartt's caliber. In recruiting him, we knew he was going to be a game changer for our program. And then with his brother coming too, just really added icing on the cake. And he said his biggest goals are to teach you the game, put you in space. He said, you are a guard. You're not a big, not a forward, but he said, I want to be able to help him show his pro game and how the pro game is played. He can defend 1 through 5. The goal is to get him to the next level. We're going to win as many games as we can with him. Couldn't ask for a better kid to lead our team and to build around. That's Coach Dixon. So really strong words from him. What would you say it's like to play for him? Obviously a guy who won a national championship at Maryland, played at the pro level himself. For him to have such high praise for you and playing for him, what is that like?
He tells me that, I know he's the ultimate competitor, and he tells me that he sees that competitive nature and that competitive fire that he had in me. And just to have that continuity with the coach and that relationship with the coach, with the head coach, it's game changing, because you want to be able to know that your coach has your back. And again, everything, again, we're 1-5, but everything we're doing and everything he's doing for me, he's always telling me it's bigger than Coppin State. It's bigger than college. I brought you here to prepare you for the NBA. And if you have to, because there's some times where I want to do things that I think will be better suited for maybe our team in terms of maybe playing an inside role or whatever. But he's like, I'm telling you, it's bigger than this, man. We're gonna get you. We're gonna get wins. We're gonna be successful in our conference. Just lock into what I want you to do now. I've been there. I've seen it. I've done it. I'm a champion. And I take that on. I want to take on that character and take on his personality and try to have obviously the best season possible, but also for myself in my last year, to go out with a bang. So.
We've heard a lot from different coaches, whether it be on the show or on social media, about playing in the pandemic, whether that's the challenges that come with it, whether you want to play or not. We haven't heard a lot from the players. Like walk us through A, what your life looks like, and B, where you stand on how comfortable you are playing right now during what is obviously a very challenging time health wise for everyone involved.
Yeah, I mean, well, just from a living standpoint, you really can't do much. Like I'm in my room, gym, gotta worry about my schoolwork, room. It's pretty monotonous, but it also it's like a sense of focus that you have, just knowing that you have to lock in on. You can just lock in on doing what you love and doing what I love, which is hooping. But at the same time, like in game wise, no fans. I'm someone that gets riled up playing on the road. Like if I know I had a game, the 22 whatever against Duke, but like I feel like if I had the camera crazy going, it gives you another adrenaline rush. You know what I'm saying? It just gets me going. It's unfortunate, like with that stuff going on, it doesn't give me, but you still love it. You still play and everything, but it's tougher when you don't have the fans or the crowd, whether home or away, that's just egging you on or booing you. So it's different. It's something that obviously we've never experienced, but again, if your love for the game is there, you kind of find a way to just lock it in, and work on it. So
awesome.
Tark, man, great to have you on. Thanks so much, man. Super proud of you. Kevin tweeted about you being one of the best pickups at any level as far as your play. I think Jeff Goodman gave you performance of the night the other night on Thursday. Obviously, you kind of had a role where you started your career, had a bunch of success, went to a higher level program and a great program, and had some struggle and some challenges, and then now you're on the other side, being able to reap the benefits of all your hard work. Just any last words you want to say before we let you go?
Yeah, I want to say you never let a hard time humble. It's not easy going through, what I went through, going through the valley of the shadow of death. But, as long as you have a belief, a foundation, and for me, my foundation is in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, just keeping you even keeled throughout it all. Yes, you're gonna go down. Yes, you're going to feel like you're going to wake up in the morning and feel like, man, I don't want to do what I got to do to, be productive. But you just have to keep going because, it can't rain forever. It can't rain forever. And I'm just blessed that, he's blessing me, and he's obviously going to continue to bless me throughout this year and throughout my life. But just stay the course. I would say to stay the course. If people are in your corner, continue to believe in them and believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. So.
Well, awesome stuff, AT, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. Best of luck the rest of the season. Keep taking your little brother under your wing. Tell your family we said hello. Stay safe, man. And super proud of all you're doing, man. You represent college basketball the right way, and you have one of the best stories out there right now in college basketball. So keep up the good work, man. Keep turning heads.
I appreciate you guys, man, for having me.
Thank you.
All right, AT. Okay, we're first player guest from the HBCU realm, Mr. Anthony Tark, playing at a super high level. Kevin, I'll let you say one more thing about him. I know you tweeted about him being one of the better pickups in college basketball, so I'll let you talk about him real quick, and then we'll bring on our next guest who happens to be from an HBCU as well.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. When you get this kid who's 6'6", can handle the ball, can shoot the ball, he's athletic, he was proven to be a high-level scorer in the ASUN, that was a guaranteed dynamite pickup at the MEAC level. It was probably a guaranteed dynamite pickup pretty much in any one bid league, like the SoCon, the MAC, whatever. We already knew who he was at NJIT, and it wasn't he wasn't just putting up numbers on a bad NJIT team. They were pretty solid. It was very obvious. So I have to imagine there's some coaches out there who are kicking themselves, who could have had a kid like that. But I'm sure, he seems very happy where he is, and I think that's something that everyone can learn from, right? There's so many guys chasing that highest level. I gotta go up. And he's gonna be at a spot where they're gonna compete for a MEAC title. He's gonna put up numbers. He's gonna play with his brother. He's gonna play for a coach who believes in him, who's gonna get him to the pros in some form or fashion. That's what college basketball is all about. So I think it's a great story. I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Coppin State, and man, he's going to put up numbers. He's going to keep doing what he's doing against UNCG. He's doing that against them. He's going to do that against everybody else in the MEAC as well.
Yeah, really good player. You love to see, again, versatile kid and great character kid. You know, there's a lot of guys we could celebrate. Obviously, personally, I know this one, and he's just played at a high level as anybody coming out of the gate. So just great to be able to give him some recognition for what he's done and kind of celebrate the player side of it. So speaking of HBCU, speaking of the MEAC, we do have another associate head coach, great coach. He's also been a JUCO head coach, similar to Corey Tate. They're in an unfortunate situation where they don't get to play this season, and can't imagine what that's like. Although basketball isn't everything, and our health is the most important, still this is what we love to do and what our craft is. So we'll bring in one of the best coaches in the country, in my opinion, humbly. I can say that, and Dominique Taylor from Bethune-Cookman. Coach Taylor, what up?
Hey, what's going on, man? Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, welcome, man. Welcome. Hopefully we didn't set the stage wrong by having another one of your conference opponent players on the show, man. Hopefully I
definitely want to talk to you off camera about that situation. I feel like me and you need to have a real conversation about that, because
you're like, Kevin's like, oh, so one of the coaches that was probably thinking that. Oh, okay, I got it.
Okay. I didn't. Yeah, nah. He man, impressive dude, man. It's no surprise that he having success. I mean, you can just hear it in the interview today. I mean, he's very, very well balanced kid. I think he'll do well.
Yeah, tell us real quick before we get about the season. So, Mr. Maker, you know, the 5-star chooses to go to a school that is the HBCU, but there's a lot of, and that's a great thing. You know, it's nationally celebrated. But there's a lot of other great players like Anthony Tark, like the guys on your roster. Morgan State has good players. Lavelle Moulton has good players on his roster. Prairie View has won championships. TSU is always one of the championship programs at the HBCU level. So talk a little bit about just the players in general, and then what Maker making that move did to bring national attention to something that probably should have got some attention anyway.
Man, I think, you know, one of the things that, you know, maybe outside of college basketball, so like if you don't work in college basketball, you don't know, but there's really good talent in the HBCU leagues, the MEAC, the SWAC. I mean, even CIAA, SIACC, like these leagues, I mean, there's good talent, you know what I mean? And I think that, you know, when you work in Division I, you work in Division II, I mean, you work in college basketball as a whole. I found out this year there's even HBCU JUCOs here in the country. You know, I think that the talent, you know, in the level of our game right now, I think is at a high level. And I think that, you know, it's a credit to the coaches. You mentioned some names, Lavelle Moulton. I got to big up my guy, Ryan Ritter. There's some guys, you know, the guys at Norfolk, the guys at Morgan, obviously the guys at Howard, they're doing a heck of a job. Just getting out here, marketing, you know, the brand of what it means to, you know, obviously have an opportunity to play at the college level, but then getting that unique experience of, you know, attending the HBCU. And I think that, you know, the social climate that we in right now is kind of just open the door for the conversation to be a little bit more commonplace, maybe in some realms that it wasn't. And then I think, you know, with Maker making that decision this year to attend Howard and, you know, getting to campus and obviously, you know, being a part of their program. I mean, you know, the history of the game, it funnels through HBCUs. It's kind of like, you know, back in the day with the ABA, you know, when there wasn't an opportunity for inclusion, this was the only avenue. And so I think that, you know, because, you know, integration, you know, there are opportunities to get to what we call, you know, bigger name universities. The tradition and the foundation that HBCUs still have, I mean, that's still today. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not Mary McLeod Bethune, but I'm every day trying to carry that mission of why she opened the school. You know what I mean? And I think that's going to last forever.
What do you think are some misconceptions about HBCU basketball? Because it does feel like it gets labeled, you know, different or less than in the college basketball world. What do you think are some misconceptions about it? Because there are so many high-level guys playing at that level right now.
I think the greatest misconception always will center around like the resources. You know, it's always going to go around like, well, they don't have as much or this. But the NCAA, they do this great job of neutralizing. The hoops got to be 10 feet. The court's got to be 94 by 50. You know, like there's certain rules and parameters that the game don't really matter about the paint that's on the floor. And so I think, one of the biggest misconceptions is the resources, but I just alluded to this. The greatest resources that HBCUs have are the people. I mean, there's going to be phenomenal coaches, phenomenal administrators. I mean, there are going to be people in these universities that would transform and transcend a lot of these student athletes' lives that, they probably wouldn't get that interaction or that opportunity to connect at a PWI.
So talk to me a little bit about your relationship with Ryan Ritter. You talked about him as a guy maybe doesn't get a lot of love nationally, but he's done a really good job with your program. And just talk to me about, your relationship with him and what makes him such a good head coach.
Man, me and Ryan got one of the probably most unique, associate head coach, a head coach, assistant coach relationships in the country. I mean, we like genuinely best friends. Like we got, I was in Ryan's wedding, our families get together. In terms of just our relationship, it centers more around our general philosophy in life, more than it is sport. I mean, sport is what connected us. The way we met was obviously through opportunity to work together, but the connection that we had, I think it transcends, our opportunity to work with one another. And I think one of the things that people who don't know Ryan, people who haven't had an opportunity to see us play, I mean, he's got to be probably one of the best at, being even keel and doing more with less that I've been around. And I've coached at a lot of different places. I've been fortunate to work with some great head coaches, some phenomenal head coaches. I got to always tell Ryan, I think he's one of the best, in the country. We talk about it all the time as friends, but even as like a colleague, I mean, he blows me away. Sometimes we'll be in the thick of, trying to navigate troubled waters, just kind of like we are now with the COVID situation. And I mean, he as cool as they are.
Yeah, we got a question in from the audience. I got Cabral Huff. He wants to know what your day-to-day looks like, considering you guys aren't playing right now, and what are you doing to keep your players locked into your program?
Man, that's a big question, Huff. It's a grind. I mean, we're in off season right now, and I think that one of the toughest things about it is, everybody hits this point at some point, through the cycle of the season. Once, conference tournament is over, Final Four is finished, everybody's locking in the, recruiting their own players, looking at the roster for next year. I mean, we got dealt that hand in November. You know what I mean? We're literally just in off-season mode, trying to figure out, make sure that our current guys are locked into what, our mission is, our plan is for the spring. Obviously they're dealing with, life in general with, COVID and the restrictions that's placed on all of us. But again, just from a basketball perspective as a coach, I mean, just trying to keep them locked into that, and keep those relationships fresh. We don't have an opportunity to play and go through, games and ups and downs. So you're trying to keep that relationship, authentic and genuine. And then, I mean, like all of us, man, you try to recruit, you try to, shuffle and do the best you can with what we given. I mean, we're all in a dead period, so we can't get out and about. But you just trying to beat the bushes, making contacts, calling guys, doing everything you can, honestly, to try to get better. You know what I mean? That's just the truth. I mean, we're not playing games, but the job and the mission and the passion, none of that doesn't get put on hold.
I think we might have an audio issue here for Brian. Let me see. Butt in if you got anything, Brian. But I'll just ask you one more.
Yeah.
I'm curious. We talked to a coach in the Ivy League last week, and he said one of the cool things been able to watch the rest of college basketball in the season. Walk me through what you might have learned from watching other games so far in the first 3 weeks or so of the college basketball season.
COVID is the great equalizer, man. I mean, you see all of these 9-1s getting wins. You see, games that people who may be casual fans may consider to be upsets, but those of us who are in the industry and watch the way a lot of these programs work, you kind of seeing it come to fruition. And I think that it's been kind of awesome, honestly, to see just the work show. If I could name drop a couple of programs like with Coach Golden and those guys are doing at Abilene Christian. I mean, that's great. I mean, I felt like I've seen that program from Division II when I played at Commerce to now one of my former players being on staff there. Obviously, my relationship with Brian and his time in the program. I mean, to see them be where they are and get national attention. I mean, that's huge. UNCG, you name dropped. I mean, watching Tark, I mean, his story. I mean, you just see so many of those stories. And I think, being out, that's something that you never get because, I mean, we're always just focused on our next game, our team, what do we got to get doing. So taking that part of it kind of off the plate is kind of definitely increase the fanhood of the game again. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, man. So great to have you on. Any last words you got? I know you guys don't get to play this season, which is tough. And, Tark kind of had some positive messages. I know it's a hard time, but it's also we're healthy. So we got to count our blessings for sure. But, just any last words you have and that you want to leave with before you take off.
No, man. I just want to, encourage everybody to, enjoy their holiday times, use this opportunity to, this season to just cherish those that we have. I was unfortunate to lose my grandfather to COVID this fall. And, you just never know how much time you got. So, be close to the ones that you love and make sure you express that. Let people know that you love them every day, every chance you get.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I love you, man. Great to have you on.
Love you too, B.
Your family, proud of you, man. And, hate that you're not playing, but I hope you're getting to take this time to keep getting better and get some family time in with your daughter and your loved ones and get a chance to make some off-season strategy moves for when you guys are going next season, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate y'all having me on, B, and really appreciate it. Kevin, man, doing a great job. Want to congratulate you guys on kind of what you guys are doing. This is awesome. B, make sure you give me a call about that Turk thing. No, seriously.
Yeah, you got it, man. Appreciate you so much.
All right, man.
Thanks for hopping on.
All right, we got our guest string of the day, another great one, and another great highlight of the HBCU level, which doesn't always get the love. So I'll let Kevin say a couple quick words, and then we'll go straight to a quick commercial break, and then we'll go coast to coast.
Yeah, it's always good to talk to different people from different perspectives, right? Like we've had, a guy who is at a team that probably in the top 25 this week or really close in St. Louis. We got a team who's not playing because of COVID. We got a guy who's been at 3 very different schools and I think you would have very, very hard time tying together 3 more different schools at NJIT, UTEP, and Coppin State. But getting the opportunity to play at a really high level and hear his perspective has been awesome. So great first hour. We got a lot to get to in the second hour, but certainly excited to dive into what we've seen this week, which has been a lot of fun stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get straight to it. We'll get a quick ad, and then we'll come right back. I want to take time to acknowledge one of our partners, Rising Coaches. Every coach wants to rise in their career in one way or another. We're all looking for professional development, access to tools, and relationships that can help us grow and help us advance in our career. Rising Coaches provides just that. You can visit Rising Coaches at www.risingcoaches.com. Their memberships are just $10 a month and provides a genuine community to help you grow and advance in your career. All right, we'll go kind of lightning round. We'll go straight Power 5. We'll go straight to the Big 12. What did you see out of the Big 12? Oklahoma State still undefeated. Texas still playing well. TCU got a big win against A&M, non-conference. They also started conference. West Virginia got a huge win yesterday playing against Richmond. I know I kind of went through a few of them, but just talk about the Big 12.
Yeah, Baylor currently on pause due to a COVID issue. They missed their game against Texas, which was unfortunate. Gave Texas the weekend off after a midweek win over Texas State. It's been. I don't think there was anything too revelatory. I think the biggest thing you talk about would be West Virginia. Continuing their strong start to the year. They played 2 mid-majors this week, Friday, Sunday. And again, is anyone going to give you massive credit online or in the AP poll because you're beating Richmond and North Texas? Probably not. But those are tough games, man. Beating those teams is harder than beating Iowa State. It is harder than beating, a lot of these teams in Lincoln. That's not a disrespect to Iowa State. It's just where those programs are at. They're really good. They're really well coached. They're tough to play against because they play unique styles of basketball. Beat Kentucky. That's going to be an NCAA tournament caliber team. They're playing at a high level. Deuce McBride, their sophomore point guard, is playing at an unbelievable level right now. He had 20 points, 5 assists, 3 steals, really just, bothered having, Jacob Gilliard and Tyler Burton and Blake Francis and those guys in the backcourt. So West Virginia really trending up. I think a top 10 team without a doubt. Otherwise, Kansas got a big win over Creighton. Was very impressed there. Jalen Wilson continues to serve himself as a potential lottery pick. And Oklahoma State 6-0. Would be remiss not to talk about them, right? I mean, get another win this weekend. Buzzer beater by Cade Cunningham over Wichita State. Building a nice little resume with the win over Wichita, the win over Marquette on the road, which I think is going to age really well. get into conference play this week, but they certainly did their job to start 6-0, and very hopeful that the NCAA reconsiders and lets them into the big dance, because I think everybody in the world would like to see Cade Cunningham on that stage.
No question about it. Let's move to the SEC. Talk a little bit about that. I know Kentucky's kind of one of the national stories people like to continue to talk about and their struggles, but there are some teams playing well. There are some people worth recognition. Let's talk about SEC.
Yeah, Tennessee got it going this week. Played their first two games against high major opponents in Colorado and Cincinnati, and it's clear that their defense is going to be really special. I don't know if you were able to watch either of these games. Neither of them were like high profile ones necessarily on like big networks, but I was incredibly impressed against Colorado with their defensive effort. They held a very experienced Colorado team to 24 points in the first half, and then 23 in the second half. Just completely shut down one of the best point guards in college basketball, McKinley Wright. Their offense is a little bit behind schedule. I think they had a big COVID shutdown, so that might have been a challenge. But they added two freshmen who have been willing to go out and defend right away, and Keon Johnson, Jaden Springer. EJ Anasicki, the grad transfer from Sacred Heart, has brought them almost I don't want to compare anyone to Mark Vital because he's such a unique player, but a similar player to Mark Vital in that he really, really can move his feet, can really get down in the stance, plays really aggressive, really defends, built like a truck. Just an awesome ad for them. And then East Pons, obviously, the rim protector as their foreman is a big time as well. So Tennessee's going to be really tough on the defensive end. Arkansas starts 6-0.
Yep.
Haven't played a great schedule, but they're getting a lot from their transfers like J.D. Note from Jacksonville and Jalen Tate from Northern Kentucky. Those two guys have been big for them, without a doubt. That's a nice start. And then I think the other team that really, really deserves love this week is Mizzou. To start this season 5-0. And this is not – there are different 5-0s at this point in the season. That's not to take away from anyone who's 5-0, but not all 5-0s have beaten Oregon, Illinois, Wichita State, and Liberty, right? Like that is not an easy 5-0. And they beat Illinois on Saturday. They're legit. Mentioned it with the context of St. Louis. Experience really matters. This Missouri team is playing together, and that matters so much. Like they just look so different. It does not matter that they don't have an NBA guy on this roster because they look so much better than Duke or Kentucky, who have 3 or 4 NBA guys, because they're a team right now. They understand what they need to do to win games, and they're playing at a high level. So shout out Mizzou, shout out to Quanzo Martin, who's doing a really good job. And that's a top 15-ish team right now in the country, the way they're playing.
Yeah, to beat Illinois after Illinois just got the win that they got against Duke, coming around for them to play the way that they played, Missouri, that is. And Quanzo Martin's done this. I mean, this is not a new story. He's done it time and time again. He's built winning programs. He knows how to win at a high level. He's done it in multiple stops. So not surprised, but just glad to see him put it together. And definitely a surprise. Most people didn't expect that. But like you talked about, because of that experience, it plays such a factor, especially in this season, to have continuity and experience and cohesion, such a huge thing. Georgia also in the SEC is at 5-0. Shout out to Xavier Wheeler, one of the better point guards, pass first guys in the country, a Houston, Texas native that is a sophomore there. We got 3-1 LSU, 3-1 Florida, 3-1 Texas A&M, Ole Miss 2-0, and so yeah, the league looks strong, definitely at the top, and looks like it's going to be another deep year in the SEC. Let's go straight to the ACC. We mentioned Duke, of course. Duke and Virginia not normally at the top. Florida State is still doing some good things, but talk about this league, and obviously we have Clemson who's playing at a high level, who's played as hard of a schedule maybe as anybody. Talk a little bit about the ACC.
Yeah, the ACC got kind of its teeth kicked in on Tuesday at the ACC Big Ten, and then turned around and swept it on Wednesday, partially led by that win over Indiana for Florida State, which was – I still think Florida State's team is figuring out who they are. They're playing Scotty Barnes as like a point guard. I really think you would want to play him with a second, real shot creator, and they just don't have that. So I think that's hindering their offense a little bit, but they're going to really defend. Raekwon Gray, Barnes, a shot blocker like Koprivica, Malik Osborne can really move his feet and defend multiple positions. MJ Walker's a really good athlete who can defend. So they're going to be an elite defensive team. They're going to rely on that, I think, for throughout the season. I think Clemson deserves a lot of credit. I don't remember if we talked about this on show. I'm fairly sure we did. But after week 1, I came on the show and I said, man, like Clemson has a culture about them right now, the way that they are on the bench. Like they're locked in, their energy is right. They're going to be tough, and that's going to matter this year. And here we are. They have the number 2 defense in the country per KenPom so far this season, right behind Texas Tech. Pretty sure Chris Beard knows something about defense. So whenever you're in that company, you got to feel pretty good. They hold Alabama to 56 after holding Maryland to 51. That's impressive. They're getting something from Nick Honor, the transfer from Fordham, who's hitting shots. Like they don't have a star. Like Amir Sims is an all ACC guy, but he's not a guy who's going to put up 20 and 10. But this is a team who's building quite the resume, and in a league where the middle really hasn't stood out. I think Syracuse has shown some bright things. I think Quincy Guerrier's growth and Alan Griffin's emergence have been huge, but the middle has not stood out to me. Clemson looks to be in very good shape to be an NCAA tournament team and probably a top 25 team at least this week.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Let's kind of keep going through the Power 5. Let's go Pac-12, the conference we have not talked about yet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Obviously, big waiver for LJ Figueroa at Oregon. Yep. I don't know if that happened last week or this week. The days all come together. It's like Groundhog Day around here. But Oregon's 4-1 now, so bounce back after season opening loss to Mizzou. They won a tough road game against Washington to start league play on Saturday, so a good start for them without a doubt. Washington continues to struggle. Now sitting here at 1-4. Shout out to Cal. It's a tough start to the year, but they hit a buzzer beater.
Got a game winner. Yep, got a game winner.
Foreman, the Stony Brook transfer, hits a big shot for him. And also shout out to Kyle Smith, who's got Washington State 5-0. Again, is the craziest schedule in the world to get to 5-0? No, it's not. But they're rebuilding. They're trying to sell something and trying to build it with a lot of young guys. They're playing a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores. That's a very good sign for them that they can start 5-0, get your wins where you can, and go from there. Everyone's in a different spot right now. Arizona also 5-0. Also has played a fairly light schedule. Toughest game was that UTEP game on Saturday that they played. It was pretty tight for 40 minutes, but they were always in control. James Akinjo had 18 points on how about 14 for 14 from the free throw line. That's crazy. But the Wildcats are 5-0, and the Pac-12 doesn't seem to have an elite team right now, but they've got a lot of kind of talent in the middle. We'll see if anyone can emerge from that.
Yeah, and Arizona State was probably the team that was playing really well early, has kind of come down to earth a little bit and has had some challenges. But, it's always going to be interesting to see how it all evolves. And, as everyone gets more used to playing together and playing with each other, kind of who emerges in that league, like you said. Last Power 5 will be the Big Ten, your favorite of all of them because you're in Big Ten country. Curious to hear some of your thoughts on the Big Ten. Big Ten ACC Challenge was a big one, so we'll talk about that, of course. But let me know your thoughts on the Big Ten. I think you got something else too.
Yeah, Big Ten lost Wednesday, but dominated Tuesday. They win the Big Ten ACC 6-5. Iowa, I think, is the team that really deserves the most attention. They come out against North Carolina. They had 17 threes. They run their offense so efficiently. I don't know if you saw this game, but I don't know what I would do if I was a coach. There's nothing you can do to guard them. And I was sitting in on a football press conference last night with Pat Fitzgerald, the Northwestern football coach for Ohio State, and one of my buddies asked Coach Fitzgerald a question about dealing with Ohio State. And they can run the ball, they can hit a big play, they've deep, they can play on the screen game. They have so many different options offensively. What do you do to try to take away one of them, essentially? And his response was literally, if you figure it out, text me. And I think that would be my response to any coach who asked me, how do you stop Luka Garza in Iowa? Because you don't. North Carolina slowed down Luka Garza. They held him to 6 of 20 shooting, and they still gave up 93 points, and Iowa looked really good doing it. That is just where they're at right now. I don't know if you saw any games in the event. I thought that Iowa and North Carolina, though, in particular, was a lot of fun and says a lot about where I was at with Fran.
Yeah, I love the fact that in that game that everyone's kind of thinking like with most teams, if you stop the best player, that you're going to be able to win, which they did a great job on Garza. Garza probably had his most challenged game in a long time. Obviously going against an athletic front line is versatile and deep, but credit to his team. That shows how good the Iowa team is. It's not just Luka Garza. They have a good team. They have a chance to be a Final Four team and win it all as much as anybody because they can score and they have a guy in Luka Garza who really creates so many problems. And as you're putting so much attention stopping them, like you said, to still score over 90. And then, going on from that game, to see them just continue to play at a high level, 6-0, Garza's making more threes, I feel like, now than he ever has. To the fact that he's adding that part to his game, because that's a part where people want to keep him out of the paint. People want to keep him from double-doubling and getting offensive rebounds and getting deep position where he can score with the best of them in college basketball. But now to stretch it to 3 and do it with accuracy, man, that really opens things up. So Iowa, much credit to them.
He scored 34 points in 17 minutes on Friday night against Iowa State. Come on.
Yeah, he's putting up video game numbers right now. He's definitely he's playing with cheat codes. Iowa playing at a high level, but not the only one in the Big Ten. Minnesota's also 6-0. And Michigan, Juwan Howard done a great job in year 2. We talk about different coaches that are new. Year 2 coaches, that's a big deal to be undefeated. So shout out to Juwan Howard and Minnesota for playing at a high level as well.
Yeah, those guys have gotten off to a great start. Not the crazy schedule again, but they're working in a lot of new players. They have a new point guard. They have a new center. They have a transfer on the wing who's playing a ton of minutes, and Shawnee Brown. Like, it's not easy for them to be where they're at. So big credit to Juwan and the job he's doing. Minnesota will get a nice test coming up, I think, on the 20th against St. Louis. That'll be Sunday coming up. So that's going to be a really good game.
Ohio State with a big win. They got a big
sir.
win this week. So shout out to Ohio State and that staff and what they're doing.
Off to a 5-0 start as well.
Also 5-0 start. Big fans of those guys. Rutgers also 4-0. I think Kevin talked about this in the preview show. This is the best conference in college basketball this year. You have Wisconsin's at 4-1, and Maryland snuck in there 4-1 as well. So lots of high level basketball. Illinois was rated in the top 5. We haven't talked about them. They had a couple losses. Lost to Baylor, lost to Mizzou, but definitely a high level league.
And I'll add one more on the Big Ten because I think it's pretty important. I just want to shout out Wisconsin for playing Loyola Chicago on Tuesday.
Yep.
First of all, they played Rhode Island last week when they didn't have to play that game. Like if you're Wisconsin, and again, like every coach is different, but there is no chance in the world most coaches are saying, you know what I want to do after when I have a game canceled and I have some open time to play some games. You know what I'm going to schedule? I'm going to schedule Rhode Island and Loyola, 2 of the best mid-majors of the country who could legit beat you. Like, the number of teams within like a 6-hour radius that Wisconsin could find to come play, beat them by 20, move on with their lives is really high. And I think Greg Gard deserves a lot of credit for putting his guys up to that challenge. I think it will make them a better team to play a Rhode Island team that is athletic as most Big Ten teams and a Loyola team that runs as good an offense as most Big Ten teams. Their offense is a lot slower than Iowa's, but in terms of personnel, you will not see a team that has more similar personnel in terms of 4 out, 1 in, tons of shooters, a big guy who can pass out, score in the post like Luka Garza than you will with Loyola. So Wisconsin's going to get a test, but I think it will help them long term. So big shout out to Greg Gard.
Yeah, and Kurtwood is one of the best mid-major players in the country.
Yes, sir.
Really elite. He kind of reminds you of a mid-major version of Jokic from Denver Nuggets. Elite passer, facilitator, but also can score. Just gives you problems. I have nightmares kind of thinking about that game, coaching against and prepping against for him. And coach just does such an elite job. So let's talk. We can actually go straight to the Midwest. We'll come back, Power 5. We'll talk about team of the week in that region. But let's go straight to the Midwest and go to the Missouri Valley first.
Yeah, unfortunate news that AJ Green's going to be out for the year after having hip surgery. One of the most exciting players in the country, preseason conference player of the year. Like, it just sucks. There's nothing more that you could say than it sucks. Loyola's off to a 3-0 start. They haven't played anybody yet. We'll see how they handle that Wisconsin game. That'll be an awesome test. They also have Richmond coming up on Friday. They're going to play in Indianapolis. I'm trying to figure out how I can sneak into the building if I'm already in Indianapolis on Friday. I don't know if they're going to let me in, but I'm going to try. Gosh darn it, because that's going to be a heck of a game. Otherwise, Drake, I think, is the other team that really just needs love. 6-0 to start the year. They're running really, really good offense. Yep. They beat Air Force on Sunday by 28 to move to 6-0. They beat Kansas State to open the year. They have an awesome point guard in Roman Penn, who's really dishing it out at a high level, makes shots, such a smart player. A guy who I gotten to know a little bit when he was playing at Siena, and is a really good kid, and just didn't work out with the coaching change, but is playing really well, and they're deep, they're athletic, they're experienced. Drake 6-0, I think, deserves a lot of love right now in the greater college basketball world.
Yeah, probably my early pick for the team of the region in this region would be Drake, playing at a super high level. Deserves all the credit that they're getting, and looking forward to seeing how they continue to build on that, and if they can kind of jump in that top 25 mid-major rank. Missouri Valley we talked about. Let's talk about the Horizon. Again, IUPUI, place I used to work, and Coach Rim got his first win of the season against Tennessee State. Many probably would not have picked him to win that game, but they did it without second leading scorer Jalen Manette. So credit to them in their year two for Coach Rim. Wright State is the favorite in this league, and they played at a high level. I think just yesterday I saw again, and Loudon Love, another one of the best big men and mid-major players, player of the year, had a 16-16 game, I think, yesterday. Definitely wanted to highlight those guys in that league in the Horizon. But anything else from this league that kind of stood out to you?
No, I mean, they blew out Bowling Green, Wright State did, which is impressive. Give a shout out to Tim Finke, their transfer from Grand Canyon. Brother played at Illinois. Yep. He's been in double figures all 3 games, so that's a very good sign for them. They need
a quick thing on that win for them to play at such a high level. Bowling Green was one of our teams of the week out of the first week and a half of the season. So for them to go in there and play against them and play at such a high level again, Wright State, they haven't been able to make the next jump to get to the tournament the last 2 years. They've won the Horizon regular season, but have not been able to kind of get that jump. Northern Kentucky's gone to the tournament, but look for Wright State to kind of be that on one of those mid-major teams that should be on tournament watch.
Agreed.
And then kind of moving to the MAC conference, anything MAC, not MAAC, MAC, MAC conference, anything that stood out?
Bowling Green getting boat raced stood out, but that's just more I think about Wright State than about Bowling Green. We know they're good. Ohio lost to Marshall this week. That was an interesting test. I was seeing where Ohio stood. I think there's just a lot of teams in this league right now that are still finding out who they're going to be. They're going to be a lot better in March than they are right now, and they're solid now. But it's going to be very interesting to see how everything shakes out. I do think Toledo is a team that we should probably be looking at. Have started 4-3, but they have a kid, Seth Milner, who's a JUCO transfer, started his career at Cleveland State, went JUCO for a year. He has been a revelation for them. He's been in double figures every game so far this season. He's been remarkably consistent. How about this one for you? 7 games. He's had exactly 17 points in 5 of those games.
Wow.
Fun nugget of the day. I got nothing else on this conference.
What about let's go. We had St. Louis on earlier. Talk about the A-10 real quick. Hey, St. Louis is obviously 4-0, one of the strong teams. Richmond lost. Talk a little bit about the A-10.
Yeah, a couple opportunities blown for the A-10 with Richmond losing to West Virginia, with Rhode Island losing to Wisconsin and to Western Kentucky. I give Rhode Island credit for going on the road. They've been challenged incredibly hard so far. Only other thing I would really add from this week would be Umass getting started. They played 2 games against Northeastern, a home and home. They won 1, they lost 1. But remember the name Javon Garcia. I'm telling you all right now, I've been tweeting about this kid since I watched a stream of an AAU game he was playing for, I think, All Ohio Red. That kid is a dog. He is a 6'2" combo guard who can get to the basket at will. He had 23 points, 4 assists, 3 steals in the opener, 18 points, 3 assists, 3 steals in their second game. He is 4 for 5 from 3 so far. He is getting to the rim at will. This kid is special. He played it. He was there. He was a 6-man at Brewster with next to 5 Power 5 guys this past year. I think that might have hurt his recruitment because he wasn't in that higher usage role. To combine Garcia with Trey Mitchell, with Noah Fernandez, the transfer guard, with Carl Pierre as a shooter, with TJ Weeks as a shooter, UMass can be a fun team to watch offensively this season.
Yeah, I love it. Definitely. UMass coming back and looking forward to kind of seeing what they continue to do. Love the mid-major player watch. Kevin's been pretty on point with that. So if he says watch him, that means watch him. Let's move last to Ohio Valley. Anything that stood out in the Midwest region from Ohio Valley Conference?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's been weird. Murray State, every time I think, man, they're the team. They blew out Austin Peay last week, saying, okay, they're going to be tough. Or this week on Tuesday, you're like, all right, they're going to be tough. They turn around, they lose to Southern Illinois, a good team, but it just feels like they haven't quite put it all together yet. Haven't quite done it. And when they do, watch out because they got a lot of guys. They have, Tevin Brown is one of the better mid-major players in the country. KJ Williams up front as a pro. Devin Gilmore solid on the wing. They got a bunch of pieces, and they're playing some younger guys too that I think will be very good. Like Chico Carter, who's a younger guard who can score it. So, they're going to figure it out. I think they're going to be really good. They showed it when they blew out Austin Peay by 30. Other things I would add: Belmont 5-1. Not surprising, they win their rivalry game against Lipscomb. That's always a big deal in that community. Yep. Freshman guard Jacoby Wood is a guy to watch, as well as they have a D3 transfer named Luke Smith, who is a absolute flamethrower from three. 22 for 45 on the season so far from out there. So that's the guy you gotta circle, highlight, underline, run him off. Run him off.
Gotta run him off the line, or you're in trouble.
He's fine. Then EKU also 5-1 under A.W. Hamilton, doing a really good job. That's all I got.
Nice. Let's go straight to the Northeast. Going up Northeast, let's talk. I'll let you pick whatever conference you want to talk about in the Northeast real quick.
Man, let's start with my guys out in the AA MAC. I am sad that Sienna's not gotten on the court yet. They're supposed to end their quarantine tomorrow, practice all week, hopefully play a series against Canisius. They're supposed to play this weekend before Christmas. Waiting to hear an official word. But, hopefully they'll be one of they're like the 20 that's like 25 teams that hasn't gotten on the floor yet. So I'm waiting, man. I'm excited. But otherwise, I think we saw early with the MAC that it's going to be very difficult to sweep series, these back-to-backs. We talked about it a little bit in the preseason. Yeah. But I've been surprised at how well teams have come back after that opening loss. Iona Fairfield was maybe an extreme example where Iona beat Fairfield by 28 and then Fairfield turned around and beat them by 15 in a game that really wasn't even that close in the second game. But you saw it a bunch. You saw Ryder blew out Manhattan in the opener, then Manhattan handled them in game two. It is going to be tough. It's going to be tough sledding. There are going to be a lot of leagues with tons of splits. It's going to be like 13-7, conference champions this year. It's going to be very, very interesting to watch. But that was something I noticed in the AA MAC.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Let's talk Big East. There was obviously some big games. The Kansas Creighton game was a really big one. Talk about Big East. Xavier, we had Ben Johnson on last week. They've now moved to continue to be undefeated, I believe 7-0 now. Talk a little bit about the Big East. Marquette's played some good basketball, beating Wisconsin. There's been some good basketball played in the Big East. Let's talk a little bit about that league.
Yeah, I think Georgetown and Pat Ewing deserve some credit here. Like, it was easy to sell all the stock and say, okay, they're going to stink when they lose to Navy. And this is why I think bye games are so important, because the optics are so different if they don't lose to Navy. Because since then, they played West Virginia for 40 minutes, competitive. We're in that game late, led Villanova at halftime, and then beat St. John's in overtime. They're playing a bunch of young guys. They have a young point guard in Dante Harris, who played an awesome game yesterday. They have a big guy in Qudis Wahab, who's playing a really high level. Sienna's transfer, Don Carey's hitting some big shots, had 19, I think, in their win yesterday. He's been really a revelation for them, which has been big. So Georgetown, I think there's a little bit more love than they're getting. Seton Hall off to a 3-game win streak after that 1-3 start. Nobody's playing better, I think, maybe in college basketball than Sandro Mamukelashvili, other than maybe Luka Garza. And that guy is awesome. He's playing at a super high level, helping them get off to the start that they're on. Otherwise, poor Xavier had a COVID issue after their 7-0 start, but hey, that's why you get in your 7 games early, and we'll see when they can get back on the floor, hopefully very, very soon. But yeah, it's a reminder of how fleeting it all is. They played 7 games in 7 games in 2 weeks. They played from 15 days, from November 25th to December 9th. and now they are in a short quarantine period. So hopefully they can get back on the course soon. But a reminder of how fleeting this thing all is.
Yeah, and even just we talked to Trey Montgomery from Penn. We talked to Dominique Taylor from Bethune-Cookman, who don't get to play any games. So to be able to jump out and have those 7 games, great. But anytime you have a pause, it just doesn't feel. I mean, you're grateful to be playing, but to have that pause and you're playing such high-level basketball, you're glad to be healthy. But I'm sure there's a combination of frustration for not being able to continue to ride that wave. But it'll be up and downs all season for everybody. But, yeah, shout out to UConn as well, who's also 3-0 in that conference in the Big East, getting off to an undefeated start. In the Northeast, let's switch to the American East or America East in that conference and kind of see anything that stood out or anybody played well that really, spoke to you over this last week.
No, I don't really have a ton. I mean, UMBC had a nice week. They beat Delaware, George Washington, and Coppin State, 3 regional rivals, not necessarily rivals, but, teams in your region that you're going to recruit against. I think that always matters, and that's something that Ryan Odom can go sell. They have an older team, and it's serving them well. So they're 4-1, and I think that's a really big confidence booster for them heading into conference play coming up, I believe, starting this weekend, which we'll see Vermont come back into the fold and UAlbany come into the fold as well, both teams who've dealt with different restrictions from the athletic departments and are finally going to be on the court this weekend. So exciting to see that, 100%.
Yeah, we'll go straight to the NEC conference, straight from there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have too much here. We saw another split with these home and home conference series that I keep harping on. Bryant and St. Francis, New York, split one. Bryant off to a 4-2 start, beat Stony Brook over the weekend. Again, this is a very good Bryant team. Watch that team. I'm telling you what, if you're they'll probably be a 16 seed at the end of the NCAA tournament because that's where NEC teams get stuck. But man, if I'm a 1 seed, I don't know how to see a team like that because that's good. That team's got a 13, 14 seed talent. They're very good. So shout out to Bryant. They're in good shape right now. One of the only 2 teams, and it's one of only 2 teams in the NEC who have more than 2 wins on the season.
Yeah, they played well, and they can score. Coach is doing a great job there, and kind of look forward to see how they continue to build their momentum. Let's talk CAA conference. Anything in the CAA that stood out to you or that was notable?
Yeah, it's another league where it feels like the teams at the top are still finding their identity, finding who they are. Yeah. Hofstra has been very up and down. I think Northeastern, I got to tell you, I watched their games against Umass because I want to see my guy Javon Garcia, see if I was right about this kid that I've been hyping up for 9 months. But, man, this kid, this Northeastern team is going to be very good in time. They have a sophomore guard, Tyson Walker, who is a stud. They have another kid, a freshman, who I was very, very impressed by. He's like a combo forward, Jameel Telfort, who's a Canadian kid. I think he played for New Hampton School, one of the great NEPSAC programs. Yep. And he put up double figures in both their games. He's a solid player. They have another freshman, Coleman Stuka, who's going to hit shots for them from 3. And was a little cold in their opening weekend, but you could tell he could shoot. It reminds me a lot of Bolden Brace, the kid that they had up till last year as a senior who could play. So they're in very good shape. I'm excited about Northeastern coming forward.
Absolutely. Northeastern. Coach Cohen does a really good job there and has continued to just he kind of just always is a stable, high level. You just know what you're going to get, consistent, and continue to do a good job in that conference. Let's switch from the Northeast and let's go. Let's take it south and go southeast instead of northeast, and we'll go straight to the ASUN. Talk a little bit about the ASUN and what's going on in that league.
Yeah, I thought that Liberty really competed against Mizzou. We talked about Mizzou being a really good club, and they were in that game. They led at the half. That's very impressive. How about Florida Gulf Coast, 3-1, off to a nice start for Michael Fly after a tough.
Big win against Miami. Correct?
Yeah, very, very big. They got 18 from Caleb Cotto, their guard. Dakota Rivers gave him 15 off the bench, 5 made threes. A team I still think he's kind of figuring it out, but that's a program win without a doubt when you're trying to get it back. And then
you talked about winning in state. It's in state. That's a big game to be able to beat one of the in-state teams. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
You're good. And then Jacksonville 6-2, haven't played a ton of guys, And I know Deontay Wood, their athletic wing, just hit the portal. Actually, he had been in double figures a few times early on the season. But no, they're still in good shape. They have some talented players, and could be a top half team in that league. So that's all I got.
No, it's good. Let's go straight to Big South and talk about that conference and anything notable there.
I'm not going to stop tooting Winthrop's horn. 4-0 now. Winthrop, their starting point guard, Chandler Vaudrin, had a triple-double over the weekend. That was very impressive. Adonis Arms, their big athletic D2 transfer, back in double figures twice over the weekend. They sweep a series against USC Upstate. UNC Asheville sweeps a conference series over the weekend over High Point. And only other thing I've got for us here is Gardner Webb. They started 0-2, but they were very competitive against Western Kentucky. I watched that game. I was very impressed with how they fought. Particularly was very impressed with a pair of younger guys that we weren't sure what to expect. They've gotten a lot from Lance Terry, a Georgia kid who has shot the ball really well for them early on. Didn't play a big role his freshman year. Has been very good so far. And then Jacob Falco, who's a JUCO transfer, has given them, gave him a great game against Western. Looks like he struggled against Pitt, but put up 19 against Western and hit some big shots. So they needed someone to step up in their backcourt with a lot of graduations and transfers, and it looks like guys like Terry and Falco are doing that for them so far.
Yeah, for sure. And we had a couple of MEAC guests on earlier. We'll talk MEAC. Morgan State's playing well, 2-1. I'll let you talk a little bit about them. And then, of course, Coppin State did get a big win against UNCG. We talked about UMBC being a good team, and they came back and beat Coppin State. And then Norfolk State has also played some good basketball at 3-2. This league still trying to figure out games and kind of sorting through some of that guarantee time. So anytime you can get wins this time of year, if you're in that conference, it's a big deal. So talk about the two teams with the winning record, Morgan State and Norfolk State.
Yeah, Morgan State went on the road and blew out Iona. It was only an 11-point final, but they dominated that game. That's very impressive. Troy Baxter's playing well, a veteran guy. Feels like he's been around forever, was at UNLV. I think he was a Florida Gulf coach briefly, very athletic kid who's helping them out quite a bit. They have Malik Miller's getting himself in the backcourt, which has been impressive. They're just they're a team that is going to be tough in that league, and they're deep, they're athletic. They do not they're going to be a tough out without a doubt. Also, in the spirit of and Norfolk State deserves a lot of love too, without a doubt, for a 3-2 start, beat Hampton this week. Also say the shout out of in the spirit of playing games as a success. How about North Carolina A&T? They played 9 of them so far. They're out there every day, man. I don't know where they're finding these teams to play, but they're out here every single day. They're playing somebody else. They play Western Carolina, took them to overtime this weekend. They played last week. They played their schedule. So since December 1st, they played the 1st, the 3rd, the 6th, the 8th, the 9th, and the 12th. It's not a lot of sleep for the coaches.
No doubt. Or the players. So in a sense of some places not playing games, they're having no trouble. So shout out to them for figuring out a way to get done and competing. You lose in overtime, that gives you had a chance to win. Hate to lose. Again, non-conference wins are hard to get at this level in these leagues because they play so many guaranteed games, and they play so many back-to-back situations. But definitely big time that they've been able to get so many games in. More in the Southeast, we've talked a little bit of Conference USA. You mentioned Marshall earlier. They are a team that's probably one of the surprises in this league at playing at a high level. You mentioned North Texas, who was leading West Virginia at the half. West Virginia played well in the second half to get that win. They're proving to be one of the best teams in the country. So North Texas showed well. And then Western Kentucky still playing well. Rice got a loss the other day. You mentioned that, I think. So anyway, let's just talk about Conference USA and kind of some of the happenings going on in that league. UAB, probably the team that's still playing pretty hot as well.
Yeah, Marshall has beaten 4 good teams to start the year. They opened with Arkansas State, won that game by double figures. They then played Wright State, who we just talked about, won that game by double figures. Turn around, played College of Charleston, always a good program, won that game by double figures. Turn around, beat Ohio, who we think is a potential top 150 caliber team, MAC contender, won that game by double figures. So they're in very good shape. They're playing, they have a kid that everyone should know nationally in Tavion Kinsey, who's a very, very athletic kid from Ohio who can really, really attack the basket, block shots, handle the ball, do a little bit of everything for you.
Catches a lot of lobs.
Oh, yeah.
In coaching against him, he catches a lot of lobs. He was a freshman. That's kind of what his role was on that really good team as a freshman coming off of the team. So he was a freshman a year after they went to the tournament. So they still had some really good players back. And his deal was just, go get it above the rim, block shots, be a highlight. Now he's evolving to more of a complete player. And Marshall's on the watch. I mean, say what you want to say. D'Antoni knows what he's doing, and they play an offensive style of play where you got to be able to run with them. Got to be able to play be put in some unconventional situations defensively, guarding them. But, man, like you said, to beat some of the programs that they've beaten by double figures and to still be undefeated, definitely a team that was worth note in this league that doesn't get talked about.
Yep, and UAB now 6-0 after it went over ETSU, probably their biggest test so far. They have two this week against a good SWAC team in Southern, and then Chattanooga is undefeated, although they just lost their point guard, and then go into Georgia Tech on the 23rd. So we'll get a real sense of how good this UAB team is, but I told people not to sleep on an Andy Kennedy team with some talent, and they're in good shape. Yeah,
no doubt. UAB is definitely in good shape, and like we said, Western Kentucky still playing at a high level in this league as well. Last, you talked about Southern, so we'll talk about the Southern Conference. It's the last team in the Southeast. Anything that stood out to you in the Southern Conference?
I mean, UNCG losing to Coppin, I think, was very, very interesting. Missed opportunity for Furman. They went and played Cincinnati, and we're in that game. It was just unfortunate because you could tell they didn't have their best stuff, right? And, like, that sucks when you go play a high-level game like that and you just don't have your shots falling for you. And they lose 78-73 in a game where they shot 7 of 28 from 3, and that was inflated by hitting a couple late. Like, they just didn't have it. And, they have a kid – Alex Hunter, who's a dynamic, a very solid player who shot. I want to say he shot like 40% from 3. Like he was at 38% last year from 3. He shoots 0 for 4 in that game. Like, just doesn't happen to a kid like that. So it stinks. He would have been a great at-large potential win for them, but they're still 5-1 heading into Alabama this week, which is another great test. And they have Winthrop on Saturday. I have no idea if I'm going to be able to watch that game because I'll be probably covering a Big Ten championship in football. But, man, sign me up. I think I would watch that on repeat. I would let that be the screensaver to my phone. Winthrop versus Furman. Sign me up, baby.
I love it. Two teams playing at a high level, too. Two of the better, again, underrated mid-major programs in the country playing against each other. Kevin won't be able to see it. Maybe. He may be able to see it. But if he does see it, tune into his tweets because they'll be good. Let's talk Sunbelt. We're going to Southwest region now. Let's talk the Sunbelt Conference. Coastal Carolina leading the way at 4-0. App State playing really good basketball at 4-1. They definitely don't get talked about enough. South Alabama had a buzzer beater just the other day. One at the buzzer, I believe, against Southern
Miss. They got a flair for the dramatic, man. It's a couple.
Yeah. They're all about the dramatics. And then Louisiana Lafayette, another one of those teams that's been one of the better teams in this conference. Picked up some good wins as well. They're 4-1. So this league is looking more and more wide open. Definitely a very good mid-major conference to follow and watch. But, yeah, tell us what you thought about the happenings in that league.
Yeah, man, I think App State, we talked about those in-state games mattering. App State and Charlotte might go up against each other for a few players in North Carolina the next couple of years, you would think.
I like it.
To win that game on the road, that matters. Adrian Delph had a huge game for them. They had one of their better players, I think, got banged up in that game. Justin Forrest, he's like a big-time scorer. He struggled a little bit this year, but had a great, had a great career there. Put up huge numbers, and he got banged up, and it didn't matter. They were able to win on the road against a Charlotte team that will be in the top half of the Conference USA. So a lot of credit there. They have Tennessee coming up on Tuesday. That's a major test, but it would be a big one if they could find a way to compete. South Alabama 5-2, Louisiana 4-1. A lot of teams trending in a positive direction there without a doubt. And Louisiana beating Louisiana Tech. Again, another in-state game that matters, man. Those things.
All those games matter. I was just about to say that. Those in-state games really, really matter, for recruiting, for your alumni, for your school, for your campus. We talked about the Georgia State-Mercer game. We had Georgia State on and Mercer on. I think Mercer also beat Georgia Southern, who was in the conference, the Sun Belt. who just recently was undefeated and now has taken a couple here recently. But yeah, good conference, good level of play. Again, Coastal Carolina sitting at 4-0, so give them their flowers. The SWAC we will move to next. We talked about Texas Southern possibly beating Wyoming. I don't know if we talked about that or not. It may have happened after, but that was a great win out of this league. And let's talk a little bit more about anything from the SWAC.
They did beat Wyoming. I think we did talk about it. It was 2 weeks ago now. Again, the days run together. Very challenging. But Michael Weathers, special guard for them. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for Prairie View to get back, man. I think they cleared quarantine this week, which is good because that means we get Cam Mack on the floor soon. He's going to put up crazy numbers in that league. So I'm excited about that. Otherwise, don't really have a ton.
Yeah, so we'll go straight from there and go Southland Conference. Abilene Christian was one of our teams of the week. They played Texas Tech as well as anybody. It was not a high-scoring game. So if you're into offense, this was not it. But it was a defensive clinic on both sides. Really impressive to see the way the Wildcats were able to challenge Texas Tech the way they did. Chris Beard gave much love to his former player and Joe Golding that coached against him and said they have one of the best defenses in the country. And obviously we talked about it on the show with Coach Brett Tanner. The way that they force turnovers is the best in the country. So shout out to Abilene Christian. Stephen F. Austin had a couple tough games. They played at Baylor kind of last minute. They played at Louisiana Monroe. And then flip side, Louisiana Monroe, Lamar gets their first win on a buzzer beater from Davion Buster.
That was a crazy shot.
Yeah, we love that. If you know Davion, he makes that shot more regular than you would think and takes that shot more regular than you would think. So shout out to Coach Price and those guys with that win. Nothing else I can think of off the top in this conference. So we'll move straight to the American, which always kind of is getting busy. Houston is on a quarantine, I believe, right now here recently.
Coming out shortly, I believe.
Yeah, I think they're coming out. Again, one of the best teams in the country. They played at such an elite level. SMU is a team that definitely worth talking about. They played really well. Kendrick Davis, one of the best guards in the country. Houston, Texas native, TCU transfer. But I'll let you kind of take it on the American League.
Yeah, certainly. Memphis missed opportunity against Auburn. I'm continuing to be a little bit frustrated with Memphis. Like, you just watch them, you see the talent. They're just not clicking yet. It's just not there. I don't know what it is, but there's something missing. We'll see if they can figure it out. But the talent is there. Hopefully they can get it going. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I don't have too much here. South Florida beat a trio of solid mid-majors in FGCU, Stetson, and Wofford. You know, those are harder games than you might think. ECU and Tulane stacking some wins early on, 5-0 and 4-0 respectively. SMU 4-0. That Dayton win, we'll see how it ages from last Saturday. They haven't played them a little bit, but obviously they're a talented group and trying to figure out who they are. But it feels very much like Houston is a cut above the rest right now. And I will say Cincinnati beating Furman matters. You talked about the game a little bit from the Furman side. That's a real win. Like that's a win that might help you in the NCAA tournament mix in terms of being at least like a quadrant 2 game.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll go from southeast, then we went to southwest. Now we'll just go to the west. Let's talk West region. We'll go straight to the Big West first, start there, and then we'll transition to the WCC and Big Sky. So anything out of the Big West that kind of stood out to you? I know that, if I'm not mistaken, Rob Barnes and those guys got a good win. Cal Bakersfield against Idaho, if I'm not mistaken. They got their first win of the season.
That's
so
correct.
shout out to them. Trying to think off the top of my head, nothing's jumping out to me. So I'll let you take the reins on the Big West.
Yeah, I mean, Cal State Northridge comes off like a 12-day layoff, and they beat Pepperdine, which is a legit win. They have a
very legit win, an unexpected win. Pepperdine been playing a lot of people well.
Yeah, and they have a kid, TJ Starks, who was at A&M and was productive there, and obviously had some troubles, but his talent has never been the issue for TJ Starks, and he's balling out right now. So that's big time for him. Riverside 3-1 now. We shouted them out last week on the show. They get another win. They beat Northern Arizona, so they're in a good place. Don't have a ton more. I just think like it's a league where there are going to be a lot of battles. We saw they played Santa Barbara played Loyola Marymount twice this week. They split them. Sign of things to come. Again, I'm telling you, these splits are going to be very, very, very commonplace.
Very commonplace and tough to play a team twice, especially basically with 1 day in between for a lot of these cases, sometimes back to back, just to make sure you get the games in. So the race for 13 games, everyone's still on. Let's talk about WCC. BYU's gotten some good wins. They also had a tough test against Boise. There's so much. So we talked to Santa Clara, was undefeated. We talked to them on our team, on our other show with Eli, the Heat Check. They had started out the season hot. Let's just talk about anything that's happened kind of in that conference.
Yeah, I mean, again, talk about teams celebrate playing games. San Francisco's played 8 games. BYU's played 8 games. I like it a lot. It's good.
San Francisco just had a tough one. They were on the winning side against Virginia at the buzzer, more or less, and now they are on the losing side, unfortunately, against Cal. But this league is going to be good, top to bottom. I don't know if Pacific was on a pause or not, but they had started out the year playing really well. Coach Stoudemire, and I know Coach Stan Johnson's gotten another win over there at Loyola Marymount. I believe you just mentioned that. So a lot of good basketball. Feels like we haven't seen Gonzaga in a while or talked about Gonzaga in a while because they haven't played.
I think they're waiting for. I think they're going to take some time, deal with their quarantine, go play Iowa this weekend in Sioux Falls, and over under like 150 for each team in that one. No one's stopping either team. No one's getting any.
That's going to be an unbelievable matchup. I mean, you talk about two of the best teams in the country, number 1 versus number 3 or number 2 or whatever it may be. But that'll be hopefully that game does get played, and we know Gonzaga was going to play Baylor as well. So love the fact that they're going to play the big boys. Hopefully those games actually get played.
We shouldn't be surprised, by the way, the same areas is 6-1. I feel like people are. I'm a little surprised that they're as good as they are right away because they're playing a lot of different guys. But man, Randy Bennett can coach, and Tommy Kusi, their former walk-on guard, he was just like a glue guy in the past. That was all he did. He just swing the ball, make smart plays, defend. The guy is playing at a very high level, like running a team. Had 13 assists again. 13 assists against Texas Southern, 10 assists against Nicholls State. He had 1 turnover in each of those games. That is high level point guard play. That's what wins you championships. They're playing very, very well right now. They've got some younger guys like Dan Fotu and Alex Dukas who are giving them minutes. Jabe Mullins can really shoot it for them off the bench. So they're in a good place and about to head into league play next weekend. And you have to feel really good about where you're at if you're Randy Bennett, considering they lost 2 guys who average, I think, 40 points a game combined, in Malik Fitz and Jordan Ford.
Yeah, and if you are a knee-jerk reactor or a Monday morning quarterback, you would have thought after they lost to Memphis to start the year, you just said, St. Mary's not going to be good this year. But if you know anything about Coach Bennett and how he runs his program, and you definitely know better. So they have won 6 in a row. They're as hot as anybody in the country right now, and they played really good basketball, like Kevin said. Let's talk about the Big Sky. Montana State has played, I think, 3 games total. They got their second win. Northern Colorado, I don't think they've still yet to play. I think they're going to play. There's some basketball here. Montana was picked to win the league. Hasn't quite gotten going just yet. It's just kind of been tough out of the gates for this conference. So there are some teams that have played well that we recognized last week. I'll let you kind of take the reins on the Big Sky.
Yeah, not a ton here. Southern Utah beats Utah Valley in-state game again. Big win, means something. Don't want to say it too many times here. Sacramento State, 3-0 start. Haven't played since last week, but still worth recognizing. And Northern Colorado has played 2 games, both against non-Division I teams. And tonight they get the test, Colorado. How about that? Yeah. Talk about a game that matters in state.
That's a big one. And I meant to say that they did start. So excuse me, they did start. I was thinking in my mind the real game is starting here today, playing against a Division I opponent. So, definitely look forward to seeing kind of what happens in more in-state rivalries. And then, conference play starting for a lot of teams here coming up. So, and I think Northern Colorado may have a game with Colorado State possibly as well. But both teams were kind of coming off quarantine and trying to figure something out. So, be on the lookout for that as well. Our last region, as we go coast to coast, is the Rocky Mountain region. So we'll go straight to the Summit League and talk a little bit about what's going on in the Summit League.
Yeah, the Summit League was very unique this week in that a bunch of the teams from the Dakotas, the 3 Dakota teams, played like a round robin thing in Sioux Falls, but they were all non-conference games because it was essentially like, all right, we're going to need games. We don't have to travel as much. We've got this awesome controlled environment that they're using for other tournaments. Let's do this thing. So they played non-league games against each other, like a 3-game round robin against North Dakota State, and South Dakota, and then South Dakota State. South Dakota State goes 2-1. South Dakota gets a win over their rival South Dakota State. That's a big time win after starting 0-5. And they're better than 0-5. Like they have a guy, Stanley Umude, who can really, really play. Going to put up numbers every night. He had 41 points in that game, 41 points, 10 rebounds, or 11 rebounds, excuse me. So if there's a Player of the Week award, it's going to him because he flat out balled out and won them a game against their rival. South Dakota State continues to run great offense. They're going to be in great shape. Don't really have much else other than Rob Jeter got his first win against the non-D1, but still first win of his time at Western Illinois. So good for him.
Yeah, we'll go straight to the WAC conference. Congrats to Rob Jeter. We'll go straight to the WAC. Dixie State 3-0. They're making the transition to Division I. They just beat Denver just the other day. So they make the transition from Division II to Division I. So Dixie State, shout out to them. Grand Canyon had a really good game. I think it was just last night. They went all the way to the wire, had a chance to steal a win. I'll let Kev kind of go into that one a little bit. New Mexico State hasn't played. They're 2-0. They haven't played in a little while. And Rio Grande Valley 4-2, another team that looks to make some waves in that conference. So talk a little bit about the WAC.
Yeah, GCU looks legit, man. I was impressed. I thought they'd be better than people thought maybe this year with Bryce Drew in, and the talent was not bad. Dan Marley had really recruited, but he did a nice job filling out the roster with guys, right? He added Ashbjorn Midtgaard, who was at Wichita State, was in and out of the rotation there as a big guy. He's been a double-double guy for GCU so far. They're getting something from Sean Miller-Moore, who's a Toronto kid. He was at Oregon State, was a JUCO guy. He's very athletic. So they're getting something there. They've got a great point guard, Javon Blackshear. I think they're in good shape to compete with New Mexico State, particularly New Mexico State dealing with an injury for one of their best players.
Yeah,
played 2 games. They had a COVID issue. Hoping to get back soon. Try to add some games before conference play, which starts January the 8th. But
they beat Nevada by 10, really good win, and then they took Arizona State, who to the buzzer, lost 71-70. So they're definitely a team to keep an eye on in this league, and normally you would kind of project those guys to be at the top. GCU and New Mexico State have kind of been the teams kind of fighting in this league, and some other ones depending on the year. Cal Bakersfield has jumped in, and others have jumped in, but GCU, with the new coach, has gotten going, has made some good acquisitions, and again, really impressive almost victory. Not that you want to celebrate those too much, but great victory against Nevada. Really good game against Arizona State. So shout out to those guys, and we'll end with the Mountain West. Boise got a really good win against BYU. San Diego State continues to play at a really high level. Wyoming has a freshman playing really well, and Williams from Texas. There's some other teams that are probably worth recognizing a little bit. San Jose State played their first game, finally got out of the gate and played. New Mexico played their first game, finally got off quarantine, so that's always worth celebrating. And Colorado State played their first game. So talk a little bit about the Mountain West.
Yeah, I mean, certainly San Diego State's getting all the love, and they deserve to be. But there's been a lot of like chest beating about, how could you possibly have thought that San Diego State wasn't going to win the league? It was obvious. They're so good. They're so good last year, whatever. And it's like, you look at Dayton, which is in like the exact same spot where they lost 3 starters. And Dayton has looked good, but not great. They've been pedestrian. And that's fine, right? Like they've been like a top 5-ish A10 team. I don't think it was not a guarantee that San Diego State would be as good as they are. I think this is a lot about what Brian Dutcher has done culture-wise, what he's done development-wise, guys like Jordan Shackle. And I also think Boise State is really good. Like I am not selling any Boise State stock. Like they may not win the league. San Diego State's a little bit better than I expected. Boise State is a very, very good basketball team. I was impressed with how they played on the road at BYU. That's not an easy environment to play in, even without a normal crowd. But Ray J. Dennis is playing at a very high level. Their young guard who's had to step into an even bigger role because Marcus Shaver has been out with an injury. Dennis had 19 against BYU, had 12 against Weber State in a game that was tight. He can really, really score, and it's helped them because Derek Alston has been a little bit quieter. He's been a little up and down. He had only 12 against BYU. Bounced back nicely at 23 against Weber, but he's been up and down, and they're still trying to figure out how Emmanuel Ackoff fits in. So, with all these new guys, I think having a returner like Dennis who has stepped in and given them some big time shot making has been really valuable. And I like this Boise State team without a doubt.
Yeah, I mentioned Wyoming. They're 5-1 under new coach Jeff Linder. They've gotten off to a good start. Nevada 4-2. Like we said, San Jose State has now played 3 games, so they came out the gate and got some games in. Colorado State 1-0, got their first game. New Mexico 1-0, got their first game in. UNLV is probably the team in this league that hasn't quite gotten it going just yet. That was projected in the top 4. Had a great season last season. But yeah, this league is definitely looked to be run by San Diego State, and Boise looks like they are very, very good to be able to contest. Once Derek Alston gets going like he has shown before, I think they have a chance to possibly compete right there. And then we'll just see how everybody else plays. Fresno still only played 1 game. They've kind of been out. We'll just kind of see. Utah State hasn't played in a little while. They're 2-3, also projected to be kind of at the top of this league. But San Diego State definitely deserves all the credit. They have some new replacements, some new guys in, and some guys that played in secondary roles last year that have stepped in and played really well. So that is the wrap from Coast to Coast. We made it in 1 hour and 45 minutes, plus an hour worth of guests. So pretty good, or 45 minutes worth of guests. So pretty good Coast to Coast work. Always got to give a shout out to Kevin and his knowledge of all these intricacies of every conference from Coast to Coast. And
yeah, I think I need a nap after this, man.
Yeah, you may need one. Make sure you get a good meal in first, but yeah, definitely need that.
It's like I gotta get an IV after like running a marathon. It's unbelievable. But,
it's a beautiful thing. You're like Forrest Gump, just running, getting up running every day.
Yeah. I got a question for you before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
So we've got, I don't know if you've seen the details on it. We're still waiting for exactly what it looks like. But I know there's reporting from The Athletic that it sounds like the NCAA is going to vote this week to make every transfer eligible right now. Like essentially, like this year we need players, we need whatever. Like we'll let everybody play. It's free year anyway. And I think it's the right thing, right? I mean, it's such a weird year. The waiver process becomes so inconsistent. You're going to change the rule for good in January anyway. But as a coach, I'm just curious, like, if you had a kid you weren't necessarily expecting to get in, and all of a sudden he's here, how do you navigate that in December? Especially because you might have been taking a kid, prepping for him to sit. You should play him because you rather have the guy if he's good. But do you worry that it throws off a team chemistry, or throw off a player chemistry? Does it hurt how your scout team looks? Like walk me through what adding a guy mid-year who could be a big part of your team you weren't necessarily expecting to have might mean for a team.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, you're not really super worried about the scout team. You'll figure that part out. Most importantly, you're working to win, and those kids, you want to put the best players on the court that you can. You do have to worry about rotation and adjustment, and how does it affect if you're already winning? How does it affect your team? How does it affect kind of fitting them in? But there's so much adjustments this year. It's such an asterisk of a year anyway, with COVID and with everything that's kind of happening. I think you just really you're hoping and praying that does go through, just so you can have all of your, for lack of a better metaphor, bullets in the gun. You can have all of your best players available to play. I just think it's always kind of a tricky balance coaching anyway, right? So if you have an injury and somebody's out and they come back, how do you get them back in the lineup? I think there's all these analytics and kind of perspectives and analysis you can take, but at the end of the day, you're just working to figure out how do you put the best players on the floor to win games. And players want to play with other great players, and they want to win. So you do have to figure out roles sometimes. You do have to figure out kind of just the chemistry part. But, I think this year is so unpredictable anyway. I just think people are going to be And those young men are going to be happy to be able to play. I mean, you get your year back anyway, so why not make it easy for everybody, NCAA, and just let whoever's doesn't have a waiver yet get their waiver. I know there was a campaign for a while, and we talk about South Alabama some on the show, but for Mike Flowers to get his and look at the things he's been able to do since he's been eligible. I mean, hits a game winner, I think, in his first game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, one of his close family members died, maybe his father, right before he got to playing. And him being able to play and have that outlet, I just think it's hard for young men. We had Anthony Tark on the show earlier. They're living in this isolation, and basketball is the outlet, So if you're able to actually play, I just think, credit to the NCAA if they choose to do that. I hope they do. And happy for those young men that get to actually play and the players. I mean, and it's, things that people don't think about too is these still are young men that, I mean, they're close with their teammates. Sitting out is one of the hardest things you can do, to not be able to play and watch everybody play. I mean, this is what you do. So I'm just excited. I hope they do push the rule through. It'll definitely make for a more competitive product because, a lot of these guys that are sitting out that may have to wait another year to play will be able to play. And that's what we want. We want to have the best product we can have. So I say go for it. I hope they do it. I think it's a little bit overrated trying to figure out how to acclimate them. I just think at the end of the day, we're all competing to win. And I think there's so much adjustments this year more than ever that, you just roll with it and figure out how to put the best players on the floor and kind of let the time makes everything a lot easier.
I believe the meeting on that is scheduled for Wednesday, the 16th. So that might be when we get that final word. It's gonna be fun for coaches game plan on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Like, are these kids eligible? Are they gonna play that day? Like, what's the deal? Can he travel? Like, that's not our problem anymore. It's not your problem.
No, it's not. That is a good thing. I am glad about that. And it'll change. It can change some of the conference standings, some of the race of what teams really can take a jump. I think we talked about Xavier having a kid. They're already 7-0. They have a kid sitting out that can play, and you add him to the fold. How good are they? And I don't have all the transfer guys that are sitting out that are kind of waiting in the wings to see if they are going to be eligible or not. But there's a lot of high-level players and a lot of mid and high-level programs that if that rule does go through, that will change kind of where the pecking order of where some of the teams are. So I think that's also an exciting thing about this season, even though it's unpredictable. Add another unpredictable element and just say, why not? Let's go for it.
Yes, sir. Anything else you got before we put a lid on it for this?
Yeah, pretty close to the lid. Just going to ask you, what is your games to watch? I mean, we have some teams starting conference play. We don't have a Big Ten ACC matchup quite the same that we did last week to really tune into. Last week we got spoiled with all these high-level games, but there are still some high-level games on the slate, anything that is notable, and then we'll put the lid on it, as you say.
Yeah, some conference games, without a doubt. Minnesota, Illinois play this week, Clemson, Virginia Tech. Those will be competitive conference games. Wake Forest is not ready yet. Them and Virginia are dealing with COVID problems. They'll sit this week out. Loyola, Wisconsin, I mentioned it. I'm very excited. I cannot wait for that game. Same thing with Loyola, Richmond. And then Gonzaga, Iowa on Saturday will be very special. The real game of the week, of course, is Northwestern football versus Ohio State. Go Cats. Sorry, Buckeye fans. I don't care about you this week. Get out of here. Nothing's good about Ohio State. Nothing's good about Columbus. The world is Northwestern fans this week. Lock in purple, baby. Let's go.
Lock into the purple. You heard it here first. So we'll shift gears before we leave officially. What is going on with Northwestern football for those that are not locked into the purple? Get them locked in real quick. Talk about some Big Ten football and what's going on.
Yeah, they're 6-1. They play great. They play really well-coached football. They're very disciplined. They really defend. They have the second best defense in the country, scoring defense-wise. They're not a flashy offense. They're not a team that's going to put 600 yards on you. I don't think they've actually – I think last week was the first time they topped 300 yards or 325 yards in a game in like 6 weeks. But there's a little engine that could, man. They're really scrappy. They're having a lot of fun. and I'm hopeful that they can stay in the game against one of the Titans in Ohio State. I will say Northwestern related. Give a shout out to Jim Phillips, Northwestern's athletic director. I can't say I know him personally, but he just got the ACC commissioner's job. It was just officially announced 7 minutes ago. That is a dynamite hire for the ACC. The ACC is going to be a better place for 5 years because of him. He has done an incredible job in Northwestern's leadership. Look, he took over a place that was in no way cool, in no way a winner in athletics. And he has done a fantastic job to get football going in the right direction, got men's basketball in the NCAA tournament, got done a $270 million football facility, a $110 million new basketball arena, a renovated baseball field, a new basketball practice facility. He has done everything that you could possibly want facilities-wise. He has been on NCAA committees. He's on the NCAA selection committee right now for men's basketball. He is going to be a great fit for the ACC. He is really Northwestern's loss, and I'm sad that he's gone. We'll say, just like from a personal note, I don't know that there are many athletic directors in college sports that go in every football game and give a knuckle bump to the student radio guys before their call. But he cares about everyone in that building, and really fortunate to have had him in Northwestern. And the ACC is in a good place hiring him to replace John Swofford. So some more big picture NCAA stuff, but he knows what he's doing, man.
Awesome. Well said, man. Talking from a true Wildcat. We also had some personal note that you had an announcement we can talk about real quick before we close, and I know we're about to close, but working for SI, talk a little bit about the new opportunity and the life changes, man. Congratulations, too.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So here's the story here. So I was supposed to start at Sports Illustrated in late March in New York City, working out of their office. Last late March, so March 2020, the month that like the world ended. And they had asked me to start a little early in early March to help out with college basketball coverage. I wrote 2 articles previewing Utah State and ETSU in the NCAA tournament. And then Thursday, that end of the world happened, and all of a sudden I was no longer going to Sports Illustrated, which I fully understood. It was more a Northwestern decision, honestly, than a decision by Sports Illustrated. They've been great to me, and I'm just very grateful that they were able to make it work. Us, Northwestern, SI, and myself, we were able to make it work where I'll be able to start officially as like a full-timer in January. But for now, working on some college basketball stuff for them throughout the rest of the season, which is very cool as an intern. So I wrote last week about Kentucky. I wrote about the ACC Big Ten. And I'll have plenty more content, hopefully some features as well, which will be cool to tell some interesting stories around the sport. But it's an awesome opportunity, and it's weird and cool, and we'll never not be crazy when you publish an article and an account with 2 million followers tweets it out, and your name is on the same website as all the guys who've come before you, and it's cool as heck, man. And I'm excited and grateful, and just hopeful that we can continue to have a great season and get to cover some college basketball for a great site as we go.
Yeah. Well deserved, man. Well earned. Super hyped for you, man. It's just the beginning. More big things. We will say more continued prayers for the Florida athlete, Keontae Johnson. We are definitely hoping that comes together where he is healthy, most importantly. At some point, hopefully he gets back on the court, but most importantly, just healthy. So, yeah, tell everyone you love them, that that you do love. Put your arm around people. Even if you have a mask on and you're socially distancing for a little bit, you got to make sure this is some different times. So just continue to stay safe, everyone, and we will see you guys next week. We'll have one more show next week for December. The last Monday in December, we will let everyone have a break for the holidays, and then we'll kick back in the new year. So see you next week. Kevin, keep up the great work. Go Cats. Hopefully they can pull it off. And Gonzaga, Iowa. Last thing, who you picking?
I don't think Iowa can get enough stops. Give me the Zags. They win it 106 to 95 NBA game.
95. That's a big gap there. All right, we'll take it. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.